What a hell of a race in Fontana. What's going on, guys? If it's your first time joining me, I am Robert Winstanley, and this is NASCAR is Cool. So today, Cup racing in Fontana. It is the third race of the year. Schedule has been moved around quite a bit. We are in the midst of the West Coast swing, which will wrap up next week in Phoenix. Let's just start off with my boy Kyle Busch, who I've been very concerned about. He has showed no speed during the West Coast swing so far, and had a rough day at Daytona, but who doesn't? He finished with a solid second place, so that was good. Now, it was kind of to the misfortune of Blaney, and we'll get to that and a few other things, but, you know, solid day. He looked good. Very excited about next week in Phoenix. I've got a couple wins here. I don't know if you can see those on camera, but ever since they changed where the flag stand is, for some reason, he's really good at this track. Maybe just in recent years, he's kind of figured it out. I don't know what it is. And he's won both with the smaller spoiler and with the giant spoiler. In this case, next week will be the small spoiler again. I have no problems with that. I think he was even better during that win. I think he somewhat got lucky with the second one, but yeah, I think it hopefully will be a really good day for him next week. We will jump into a little bit of fun drama. So Martin Truex Jr. versus the field today. Martin Truex Jr. basically just cussing out every single driver on the track for racing him, I guess. I don't really see what Truex was complaining about too much. He kept acting like everyone was just ramming into him or throwing bad blocks and, you know, running him off the track and all this kind of stuff. But every time they showed him, he looked like he was just being raced like literally everyone else. Didn't really see a huge problem. He kept complaining about his teammates being horrible and this and that and whatever. I have no idea what the hell he was bitching about. And so I think that it's time for Martin Kleenex Jr. to just, you know, chill out a little bit. Ryan Blaney, man, looked amazing during this race. He gets stage 2, I believe. He was in the beautiful Kobe Bryant tribute car. This was easily the best Kobe tribute on the track. And in fact, Kobe was part of Body Armor Drinks. Really cool to see that on the track and all that good stuff. So I was really hoping that it would park in victory lane or at the very least have a good finish, and it really, really deserved it. But with 3 laps to go, he unfortunately had a tire going down and he had to pit, and so he ended up finishing like 20-something then. So real tough day, heartbreak for Ryan Blaney for the second week in a row, depending on how you look at it. I think last week he still probably would have ended up at least P2. I think Bowman should have 2 wins in a row now, but you know, who knows? Maybe he could have held off Bowman, and he should at the very least have won one of these races, I think. And so a real shame. Jimmie Johnson looked really good for some of this race. I wouldn't say he's back. I wouldn't say that the 48 looks like it's, you know, contending for a championship necessarily, and I'm not even convinced yet that he's contending for a win. I think some people are really ready to jump on the bandwagon that he's back and he's going to get it. I think people are really ready to jump on the bandwagon that he is, you know, he's back and he's ready to win, and he's going to win at least one, if not multiple races this year, make the playoffs and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. He looked very good. He was P2 for a lot of this race. And I think he led 10 laps, which is kind of where I'm not so sure yet. And he has been probably the 3rd best Hendrick Chevy so far this season. Alex Bowman has very clearly been the best. And I would say that Chase Elliott is maybe the 2nd best Hendrick Chevy I've seen this year. I guess you could say that him and Jimmie have been relatively close. But you know, I've liked what Chase has done better, and I think that he's going to be better throughout this season. And Jimmie Johnson, though, I think looking very, very good, and I think that there's a chance he could contend for a win this season, maybe, but at least from this performance, I'd say he's still looking better, but a bit still a lot like last year, where he'd have a decent run or he'd have a race where he leads a little bit and then he slowly fades to about a P6, P7. I think he ended up at P7 today. And I saw that quite a bit last year. There was quite a few races where he, you know, either led or looked like he could lead. And a lot of people thought that Jimmie was coming back, and he'd usually settle in somewhere in the lower top 10. So I'm not quite ready to sound the alarms yet. And that brings us to Alex Bowman, your race winner. He dominated a ton of this race as well, along with Blaney. They were neck and neck battling, and he, I believe, won stage 1. He just looked excellent, really. There was really no flaws with his performance today. Everything went well for him on pit road, which is obviously out of his hands, but still had a good day on pit road. Didn't have any issues getting onto pit road. And he came in pretty hot a couple of times on pit road. A lot of drivers were taking some pretty big chances with slowing down at the last possible second, and he still managed to hold on and have a good day. So Alex Bowman, really, really impressive. The last 2 races, both he and Ryan Blaney in first and second, getting towards the last couple of laps. And honestly, one of them should have, won last week rather than Joey. I think that the caution was kind of bullcrap. And I think that these two are showing some incredible improvement from last season. Obviously, Blaney has a new crew chief and all of that kind of good stuff. And Alex Bowman, with the new Chevy body, just seems to be the driver that is kind of, getting the best handle on it so far. I think that if I had to make a prediction right now by the looks of Alex Bowman, I would say that I think very well could be heading into a Kyle Larson type season. He's looking very, very good. He won today at Fontana, which is a track that obviously Larson has had some success in at least once, and generally performs pretty well. Unfortunately, he had the Mick curse today, so what are you going to do? They make these beautiful cars, and unfortunately they're completely cursed, and he's not allowed to finish in the top 30 with it, basically, or whatever. I don't know where he finished. Maybe he got a top 10. All I know is that the Mick curse continues, and it makes me sad. Yeah, so I think Bowman could be a really strong contender to potentially take what he learned from this track, move on to Michigan, and potentially win at least one of those races. I think he'll for sure win at least one more race this year, and we could be looking at a very Kyle Larson style season out of Alex Bowman. And can I just note for a second that much like Larson's race wins, Alex Bowman today just keeping up the tradition of these beautiful confetti-covered race wins, shredded tires with the, missing, whatever you call it, quarter panels and all that kind of good stuff. I think he's got a missing one on this. And based on what I saw in Victory Lane, it will look like this on the other side, shredded tire, a little tiny bit of the quarter panel missing, decent amount of confetti. He has yet to have a race win where he hasn't completely destroyed the tires and gotten a bunch of confetti, and I'm all for it. That's awesome, especially since he's a driver I like enough to buy the diecast of. So, hell yeah, Alex Bowman. Most of that's probably out of your control, but keep it up. Anyways, that is pretty much all I have for you. And yeah, looking forward to ISM or Phoenix. Oh, they stopped calling it ISM. It is now just Phoenix. So looking forward to Phoenix next week. And hopefully Kyle Busch can get one spot better next week. If not, hopefully just a solid day and all that kind of good stuff. Anyways, have a good one, y'all.